Hey guys, and welcome back. I have got a seed haul for you guys today for the 2024 upcoming spring gardening season. And I'm so excited. I'm going to give a little intro first. These seed hauls tend to bring in a lot of outside viewers and a lot of subscriptions because it's just a really popular thing to search on YouTube. So for those of you new here, my name is Megan. I live in Southwest New Mexico, USA in zone 8A-ish, sometimes 7B. I live in the high desert, so we get pretty cold nights, really hot days, and I grow most of my produce and all of my chicken and eggs here on our homestead in the desert. So this year's seed haul is a bit different from previous ones because I'm kind of changing the way I garden, not in a monumental way, but I'm trying to dive further into growing arid adapted and desert adapted seeds. It's difficult to grow anywhere. Everywhere has problems, whether you live in the really cold, the really hot, the really humid, the really dry. Everywhere has their difficulties, but I have a pretty hard time growing most of the very common plants that you find on other channels in the Midwest and in the East because I just don't have the climate for it. So I'm trying to move to a more arid adapted seed bank in my household so that I can be a little bit more hands-off with my plants in the garden during the summer months. That being said, I have ordered from 2 separate seed companies this year that have primary goals of seed conservation, genetic diversity, and arid adapted seeds, arid climate adapted seeds, and that's where I've gotten a majority of my seeds from this year. I also have a bunch from Baker Creek, which is a favorite place to shop for me. But on top of those companies that I ordered several seeds from, I'm also going to be utilizing more of my saved seeds here in the garden. I do save a ton of seeds every year from various fruits or plants that I think did really well for that year. And although I do save seeds every year, it's not often that I use them as much as I should. They're just kind of sitting away in my seed box. So this year I'm going to concentrate a lot more on those desert adapted varieties and my saved seeds to see if my seed saving over the years has benefited my garden at all, and maybe I've got some hardier plants that I can use that are from my own seed saving endeavors. So with that being said, I'm gonna go through these seeds that I got with y'all, and then I'm actually gonna go in depth about the 2 specific companies that I bought most of my seeds from this year. And then we're gonna get into how to find cheaper seeds or not pay for seeds at all. Let's go. So first and foremost, we're gonna start with the Baker Creek seeds that I got this year. I just can't, it's so hard when I go to Baker Creek's website because you get a free seed with every order that you, I think, buy 3 or more packages with. I love getting the free seed packs. And I mean, they just have really cool plants and I always wanna try all of them. Most of these seeds, if not all of the ones that I ordered this year, I do not have any experience with. I will let you know if I had or if I know anything about them, but otherwise these are all just going to be brand new for me. And the reason that is because I have a ton of seed packets. This whole thing is just completely full of seeds that I've accumulated over the past 4 years. And as amazing and fun and exciting as it is to buy new seed packets every year, your first tip on spending less money on seeds is to just not buy as many seeds. I have seed packets in here that I bought the first year I moved to this property in 2020. Oh shoot, I can't remember. 2020. And those seeds are still viable. Some certain seeds may not be viable. I'll just have to sow them more densely, put more seeds in a hole. Hopefully I'll get a plant out of them, but they're still perfectly good. So in an effort to not spend hundreds of dollars on seeds this year, I'm just gonna clean out my current seed bank collection because why not? But the ones that I don't have, this first one is a Roma tomato, a paste tomato called Martino's Roma. This is a determinate variety, so it has a tendency to be a little bit shorter, not to grow to huge tall heights that you have to trellis the plant over the course of the summer. And this is actually a compact plant, is what the back of the seed packet says. I don't know how small that's going to be or how big it might get. I do need to try a new paste tomato though. Because the only paste tomato I've tried for the last 2 years is Amish paste. And that tomato does so stinking poorly that if that would be the only tomato I would have ever grown here, I would have thought I just couldn't grow tomatoes. I have tried Amish paste the last 3 years and it has completely given out. The entire plant dies in the middle of the summer because it can't take the heat. And if y'all have been around here long enough, you know I have a giant shade cloth structure. I do my best to mitigate the heat here in the desert. I cannot grow an Amish paste tomato to save my life. So this is the first year I'm branching out. I really want to try different paste tomatoes because I don't have a variety right now that I can grow. And although paste tomatoes aren't required to make tomato sauce or tomato paste, it's a lot easier when there's not a ton of seeds and juice in the middle of a tomato. Paste tomatoes tend to be more meaty, so you're gonna get more tomato out of each one because when you're making sauces and paste, you have to boil out the water. So not necessary to make sauces and tomato paste, but I would really enjoy not losing half of my slicer tomatoes when I'm trying to boil them down to make sauces. This second one I have is the Isis Candy Cherry Tomato. It's supposed to be outstandingly sweet. The kids here, Victoria in particular, loves snacking on tomatoes, and I wanted to try and find a cherry variety that was super sweet. This has a lot of good reviews. I've seen a lot of other channels talk about it. But I've never tried it. We'll see. Some of the ones that I've grown repeatedly in the past are gonna be the Mexico Midget, which I spoke about in my last video, Barry's Crazy Cherry, and a few others that I can't really remember right now. They didn't do well for me. I'm not thinking of any. I think my mom gave me a pink Bumble tomato last year, which is supposed to be a cherry tomato. It's a little bit bigger in size, so it's like a mix between a tiny cherry and a saladette sized. But that didn't do super well for me either. So I am still on the lookout for a very prolific cherry tomato that does well in the heat. We're gonna try this one this year. And on the tomato kick, I am also going to try tomatillos for the first time. I am very familiar with this fruit. It is grown and eaten here in Mexican cuisine all the time. And I buy tomatillos to make green salsa with. I've never grown them though. I don't know why. You'd think I would have. I just haven't. So this is the first tomatillo I will be growing. And I don't have a particular reason why I picked this one, but the name is Rio Grande Verde, which is Rio Grande Green in Spanish, and I live right across the street from the Rio Grande River, so I thought that was cute. I'm gonna try these guys. Another plant I have never grown before that I am excited to try this year is eggplant. And this variety that I have is called Ping Tung, I think. It's a Taiwanese eggplant. It says superbly delicious. I don't eat a whole lot of eggplant, which is silly because I tell you guys all the time that you should do your best to grow what you'll actually eat. You don't need a bunch of wasted space in the garden of things that you never harvest or use because the household doesn't eat them or like them. I wouldn't say I hate eggplant. I don't know a lot of recipes with eggplant in them, and I've certainly never cooked it. So we're gonna try it. We're gonna give it a try this year. I've got some extra room because I'm building more beds in my garden. So I figured I'd throw a couple eggplants in there and do my best to learn how to cook them and see if anyone in the family likes what I cook. And if so, then I will be growing them again because they are a heat-loving plant. They should do well in the Southwest. And as far as I know, they're pretty versatile in cooking. So we'll see. I'm not sure. This here chamomile, just a German chamomile. There's a couple different varieties of chamomile. But I do make tea regularly. I grow and save my own tea blends for use during the winter when they're not growing. So I needed to re-up on my chamomile seed because I'm out. I used all of it last year. And although chamomile is a flower that really readily self-seeds, which means you grow that one plant, it's gonna drop a bunch of seeds. You should have it coming up next year. I don't have such luck. I don't have a whole lot of reseeding that happens in my garden beds because of our lack of water. I have a drip system currently, but I used to hand water my garden with hoses. Unfortunately, with the drip system, it just drips exactly where your plant is, so there's not a ton of wasted water, which is good. But because I live in the hot, dry desert and we get almost no rain in the springs, if I have seeds that are laying around in the bed and not getting hit by that drip system, they're not gonna germinate. So I don't have a lot of, spontaneous germination of old seeds in my garden because it's just too dry. And I am not watering every inch of my soil when I water my garden, which is fine. I'm not going to do that and waste a ton of water just to get seed sprouting by themselves. I'm okay with it. I will just reseed this in some flats and transplant it out in the spring and everything will be fine. For peppers, I think I've only got one new one this year, and this is the jalapeno. I am a huge pepper fan. I live in the green chili capital of the world and went to a university that has the only chili pepper institute in the world. Huge fan of peppers. But I have never tried the jalapeno, which is a non-spicy version of the jalapeno. Most of the seeds that I have here are for hot peppers. Chase and I love spicy. Almost every meal that we eat is gonna have some sort of spice in it. But the kids don't love super hot peppers. And we like making stuffed peppers. What are they called? Oh my God, the name is escaping me. It's where you put the cream cheese in the jalapeno and then wrap it. Jalapeno poppers, that was it. We love making jalapeno poppers, but the kids won't eat them because we use really spicy jalapenos. So I've got these jalapenos, which are supposed to have no spice, but all the flavor. I'm excited to try these. And the last food item on the menu from Baker Creek is going to be another cowpea, and it's called the Red Ripper cowpea. I talked about this in my previous video, I believe. I don't have a really good time growing beans here because it just gets really hot and it's super dry. But one type of bean that I can grow is cowpeas. They tolerate heat, drought, humidity, and the beating sun that is the entirety of our spring, summer, and fall here in the high desert. I've had great success with cowpeas. And I've usually grown the same kinds over the years, but I wanted to branch out this year and try a red bean. Now cowpeas are also called black-eyed peas. A lot of them look the same. A lot of them are gonna taste similar. I'm hoping that this has a different flavor, maybe more like a red bean, because I just have not had luck growing traditional red beans or anything like that. I wanna use cowpeas so that I can actually get a harvest. So we're gonna try this Red Ripper. Had good reviews, I've heard of it before. There are tons of cowpeas to try out there, but this one caught my eye. So we'll see how it goes. I am expecting it to be just fine. There is not a cowpea I have met that I did not like. Last item, not a food item, but I've got some new zinnias. This is called Aztec Sunset, and look how beautiful these are. That's so gorgeous. I've had pretty okay luck growing cosmos here. The best flowers for my area are sunflowers. Zinnias seem to do pretty well as well. I don't throw a whole ton of flowers in my garden. I like to bring the pollinators in because I have bees. And I like the pop of color. I like to see pretty things when I walk into my garden, but I don't like taking up a ton of space for flowers because I want that space to be for food. I didn't do a whole lot of flowers last year. I had some cosmos, some calendula, but that's also an herb that I use. I harvest calendula for tea and for salves. But I'm gonna try my best to get some more flowers in the garden this year. And zinnias have been a tried and true favorite of the past. And last but not least, from Baker Creek, we have the free seed packet. I have gotten this lettuce so many times. I always get Merlot lettuce in my free seed packets. And carrots. I get a lot of carrots too. So many of these. It's a really good lettuce. It grows super well here and I love it. So I'm happy to have it. I'm happy to have it. All right, next up, from the premier company in arid seeds and conservation, we have Native Seed Search. Native Seeds is a nonprofit company based in Tucson, Arizona, here in the US, and their primary goal is to conserve and promote arid adapted varieties throughout the Southwest and in Mexico. They work directly with indigenous communities across the Southwest and Mexico to preserve the heirloom and landrace varieties that have sustained many of these cultures for generations. The seeds in the seed bank all originate from the Southwest USA and Mexico. I think their span is from Las Vegas, Nevada to Las Vegas, New Mexico, east to west, and Durango, Colorado to Durango, Mexico, north to south. So all of the seeds in their seed bank specifically are going to come from that Southwest region in between those points. And this Southwest area includes both high desert, which is above 3,500 feet above sea level, and the low desert, which is obviously lower than that. On their website, they also offer varieties that are not from this area, from that region. It's not from their seed bank collection, they'll say, but all of the seeds that are not from their seed bank collection do work well in that Southwest desert region. And then the purchase of those seeds, wherever they come from, still helps their conservation mission. And the importance of purchasing seeds from an area where it's similar in climate to yours is that those seeds are coming from plants that have already grown in similar conditions to where they'll be growing when you plant them. That's just going to give you an extra leg up in the gardening season, rather than trying to grow like a cool loving plant that originates in Wisconsin and the days never get over 80 degrees and it always rains. I'm gonna have a much harder time growing a seed from there than from somewhere in Tucson, Arizona, where it survived the heat and the drought and the plant is already adapted to those kinds of conditions. So when you are seed shopping, I highly encourage diversity. If you see something pretty and you want to try and grow in your garden, do it. I do that. That's great. And who knows, it may work there. But if you are trying to get the best production possible out of your garden, it is beneficial for you to try and find seed companies that source their seeds from similar climates. So most of the seeds, all of the seeds actually, that I got from Native Seeds this year are going to be squashes, gourds, and melons. Mostly because I have had a terrible time trying to grow squashes here in the desert. I do have a few tried and true varieties that I've listed on my previous video. But the sun is really harsh on my squashes and watermelons in the summer, not to mention the added pressure of squash bugs, which I have a huge problem with. So I decided to try and get some arid adapted seeds this year from Native Seeds and see how those work. I still have all my old packets from previous years. I will be throwing other squash in, like Tramontino, traditional yellow squash, zucchini, but hopefully I can have better luck this year with some of these seeds. The first is called the Mayo Blusher. It says it's a good keeper. Fruits are round to elongated in shape and blush pink when fully ripe. It's a cute little squash. I don't know anything about them other than what's on the seed packet, and everything that's on the back of the seed packet is also listed on the website. It is from their seed bank collection, so it is grown in an arid climate. likely in Arizona where the company is based. This was pretty cool. This is a melon, looks similar to a cantaloupe, but it's called the Isleta Pueblo. And I got this one because it is a melon whose seeds originated near Albuquerque, New Mexico, which is a couple-hour drive from where I live. I live in New Mexico. So I'm excited to see if this does well here in this area, since it's originally from somewhere just a couple hours north of me. And I've never successfully grown a cantaloupe type of melon. I've never really successfully grown any melons. I just have the worst time with watermelons too. So this one's called Mayokama. It looks like a butternut type. It's from a low desert location in Sonora, Mexico, and produced well despite the heat in Phoenix. That's what this seed packet says. Low desert is a little bit different from the high desert. It has its difficulties. It's different from the high desert in where when it's in the heat of the summer, because we live in the high desert, we will still cool off at night because of our altitude. But low desert dwellers tend to have hot nights and hot days, and that can be stressful on the plants. So I don't know, it should be fine. I mean, it's a desert adapted plant, but just be aware, it is, a low desert is different from a high desert in many aspects. This one is a watermelon. And I had to look up the pronunciation of this. I believe it's a Native American tribe or community based in Arizona and Mexico. But how you pronounce this first word is autumn, like aw and thumb. That's what Google told me. But this is a watermelon that is a high yielder of green oval fruit with sweet and crisp yellow to orange flesh. Don't know anything else about it. I'm down to try it. I can't grow watermelon to save my life, so hopefully we can get a couple this year. And then I have this wild loofah. So Native Seeds also does conservation and education about wild relatives of common plants. And this, I have the long loofah gourd seeds, which I will try and grow this year. I have never successfully grown before. But this is a wild loofah seed from the Dooryard Gardens along the Rio Mayo. So it is smaller, but I'm hoping it's more hardy because it was a wild variety and will hopefully be more successful than the regular variety you can really find anywhere. Okay, and for my last seed packets, I have talked about this company ad nauseum called Going to Seed. Their website is goingtoseed.org. This is a very cool company and you should absolutely check out the website. It's another nonprofit organization that is dedicated to promoting genetically diverse, resilient seeds for a sustainable farming future. They provide free seeds to the public, which I'll get to in a second, but they also provide free online courses and education. They have a farmer support program, and they work with other seed-saving nonprofits around the US to bring locally adapted seeds to communities. They have a lot of information, and most of these seeds originate from landraces. A landrace is a genetically diverse plant that over time has adapted to the local environment. They have adapted organically through natural cross-pollination and minimal human interference. Those are keywords right there. Minimal human interference to adapt to the local conditions that they grow in. That means they have not been specifically crossed or bred in any way with human intervention. One example, well, the example of landrace gardening. If you're trying to develop a super hardy squash plant, for example, let's use squashes. You want that squash plant to be genetically diverse as much as possible, because genetic diversity will cause hybrid vigor and will cause tons of different traits for this plant to have that could help in its growth. So I want to develop my perfect squash plant for my specific location here on my property. What I'm gonna do, and we're just gonna simplify this because there are many types of squash that do not cross-pollinate with each other, but I'm not gonna get into that. I'm gonna throw a bunch of different types of seeds. Let's say I have 10 types of squash. I'm gonna throw all those seeds down. I'm gonna let them all cross-pollinate through the course of the whole year. And then I'm going to pick the best fruits. That includes taste, size, ease of production, early production. Those best fruits I'm going to take, and I'm going to save the seeds from those. The rest I'm going to let go. I mean, I'll eat them, but I'm not going to save seeds from these crosses that didn't produce very well. Then the next year, I'm going to take those seeds that I got, I'm going to throw them down. Again, I'm going to pick the best ones, save those seeds, and we do that over and over and over again until we come up with this one plant that is tons of genetic diversity, it's super hardy, and it grows every time I plant it because it is specifically developed over years to my location. Now these landrace varieties are going to be looking weird because they're all cross-pollinating. Some common landrace varieties have just the one plant will throw out tons of different shapes and colors. And this is where the minimal human intervention part comes in, because you want a productive and successful variety that requires little to no human input, as little as possible. You want these plants to be resilient. Here in the desert, I'm not sure I could develop a squash plant that doesn't require additional watering. We do have a monsoon season, which does provide, natural organic rain that I don't apply myself. But I don't think I'm ever going to develop a landrace variety that doesn't take additional water. I don't know if that's possible here because we get no rain. But creating your own landraces provides for adaptable, resilient plants that you can have success with year after year because it was specifically tailor-made to grow on your property. I think that's fascinating. They have tons of education and free online courses at goingtoseed.org where you can look up all of this. Another great resource is Joseph Lofthouse. He's written several books. There's tons of interviews online with him. He is the father of landrace gardening, some circles will say, although I believe the true fathers of landrace gardening are going to be the indigenous communities that have saved seeds for tens or hundreds of years. But I cannot recommend enough this website just for its education and information, but also for its seeds. The interesting thing about goingtoseed.org is that all of these seed packets were free. Now, I don't say this so that y'all can just go and buy every seed packet, grab every seed packet they have online and be like, cool, I got a bunch of free seeds, bounce. No, they do have a donation program. I highly encourage you to donate because it supports their conservation mission, it supports their education mission, and there's people who, organized all these seeds and put them in a bag for you and you're getting them for free. So throw a couple dollars down. But all of these seeds, all of these packets, every single one of them, $0. And they are all landrace seeds. What Going to Seed, as you can see, let me find, this runner bean packet is super cool. Look at how pretty these beans are. So the way that Going to Seed gets their seeds is through donations from gardeners in the US and Canada. Now they do have specific requirements for donating seeds. They want them to be genetically diverse landrace varieties that you have done little to no work on, that you just survival of the fittest throughout there, let grow, because they are trying to distribute seeds that are hardy and adaptable to people around the world. So you're not gonna go outside with your Aztec sunset zinnia and save seeds only from that single plant that you grow. That's not what they want. They're getting these seeds from people who are developing their own grexes or landraces, saving those seeds and sending them to be distributed around the US and Canada so that growers like me who want to learn how to do this and develop locally adapted seeds can get a head start with some extremely hardy and productive landrace varieties. I think it's so cool. And I'll just show you all these packets. I mean, I don't have names for these, which if you guys are super into the names and the pictures and the story behind a plant, this might not be for you, because most of these beans probably don't have names. They've just become their own thing over the year. But they're so cool. So this is a not just cowpeas packet. There are just tons of cool, different colored cowpeas in here. The cucumber mix is a little less exciting. It just looks like cucumber seeds here. The pole bean mix is interesting. I don't know what kind they have. I've got a squash, specifically a Cucurbita machata. And then a summer squash, a Cucurbita pepo mix, a tomato, this name was funny, somewhat slutty tomato mix. Their other tomato mix was positively promiscuous, I believe. I have a squash maxima mix. Ooh, these are pretty. This is a watermelon mix. So we'll see how these compare to the Native Seeds watermelon I got. But this has an interesting blend of watermelon seed colors. I'm not sure I've ever seen red watermelon seeds, but here they are. And then I've got the runner beans, which I already showed you, and a fig leaf gourd squash seed. These are traditionally black, the fig leaf gourds are. So yeah, I don't have names for these guys. They're pretty though. And I grew several going to seed varieties last year. I think I used a cucumber mix last year. I didn't have a good year with I don't think I harvested a single cucumber, except for Armenian cucumber. That's not technically a cucumber. But specific actual technical cucumbers, I have had a hard time these last 3 years. So maybe this mix will be successful for me this year. I'm just not sure. We'll find out. But that is all. That's all I've got for the seeds that I purchased. I still spent a little bit more money than I wanted to. Of course, I made a fairly decent donation to Going to Seed. Native seed packets are a little bit pricier than your normal seed packets, like you would find at Baker Creek. I believe the seed packets are usually between $2.99 and $3.99 at Baker Creek. These are a bit more expensive. They can get up to like $5 or $6 per packet, but it is all for a good cause, a good organization that is furthering stewarding the land and saving heirloom seeds from indigenous communities. So I highly recommend supporting both goingtoseed.org and Native Seed Search, especially Native Seed Search if you live in the Southwest or in an arid, hot climate. I would like to start my own landrace one of these years. Seed saving is not something I've done a whole lot of research into. I know the basic roundabouts of it, but I also don't have enough space on my property to separate plants the way they need to be separated so that I can ensure, you know, this group of squash is only getting pollinated within this group. I just don't have the space for it. So I'm not sure if that's something I'm going to be doing this year. I highly doubt it. Although as much as I want to develop a landrace here on my property, I really want to try and grow as much food as possible first, because my primary goal when I'm gardening is to provide healthy food for my family and offset the grocery store as much as possible. That's my goal when I garden, as well as like eating tasty things and looking at pretty things. But I want to grow as much food as possible as a replacement for the store. So I don't have a whole lot of room for experimentation in my garden or like playing around, but maybe one day in the future. As for saving money on seeds, obviously going to seed.org, these are free seeds. That's a very easy way to go. You're just not gonna know what you get. I mean, there's no name for any of these varieties in here. But perhaps you could grow it in your garden and name it yourself. That would be cool. The second way to save money on seeds is to save your own. My goodness, people. Saving seeds is so easy. And from a single packet of seeds that I buy from Baker Creek, this one zinnia, I could grow so many plants. so many plants from this one packet of seeds. And all I need from all of those plants is a single flower to go to full maturity, dry out, and I can save the seeds and have more seeds from that one flower than this packet originally gave me. It's ridiculous how many seeds you can get if you just save your own. And I'm not gonna go into saving seeds right now. That's a whole separate video. It's a whole separate book. There's so much about seed saving. There are good books that I can recommend though if you're interested. But I just buy these little paper packets. I don't like plastic. I don't like to save seeds. I don't like saving them in plastic bags because I'm always terrified that I left a little bit of moisture in there. And if there's a little bit of moisture inside plastic, it's going to mildew and your seeds are gonna go bad because they'll mold. So I like the brown paper packets. Another plus of the brown is that you don't want your seeds to be exposed to sunlight, like for the duration of the year until you plant them, because sunlight and copious amounts of air are going to just reduce the viability of the seeds over time, just like anything else that you preserve. You want to keep it contained as much as possible. So I just use these little guys, and I got them off of Amazon. They're a little small, if I'm being honest, little small boys. They're fine for seeds like this habanada that I saved last year. That's all I do. I just put a name and the year that I saved it. It's good for those peppers and small seeded things. But then I have a pumpkin that's just full to the brim with not as many seeds as I saved because these are so small. I highly recommend getting bigger ones. But they work for me and I have a ton of them. I got them for super cheap on Amazon, so I'm gonna continue to use them until I run out, which might be never. I don't know, there's so many packets. But I have a ton of saved seeds. There's so many in here, which I'm going to use this year in place of a lot of the varieties that I still have here in my box. And then I've also got these organza bags, which are not ideal for seed saving. They do provide a little bit of airflow, so I know that they're dried out, but they're completely see-through. So if you have these, you need to keep them in like a dark closet to keep them out of the sun. But these are way easier to save large seeds with. This is a cow, no, this is the asparagus bean. These little black seeds are asparagus bean seeds that I saved. And this is just from 2023. I have more in here from 2022. I could probably plant more than 100 asparagus bean plants just with a couple weeks of seed saving. Not even that. Goodness. Jeez. I have corn that I saved last year. These are from the California Black Eye number 5, which I've gone over as one of my favorite bush bean cowpeas. They just do really well for me in my area. I have literal hundreds of seeds here. They're not even the only ones. These are from the year before. There's so many seeds, guys. So many. And here, I've got more cowpeas. These are the pink eye purple hull cowpeas. These are cute. They're kind of pinky and green right here in the middle. Saved a bunch of seeds. These didn't do very well for me last year, but we'll see if some of these saved seeds will do better after a year of adaptation. And these are sunflower seeds from my wild Mexican sunflower that I love growing. It's all over my videos in last year's garden. It was gorgeous in my in-ground garden. So I've got tons of seeds that I save every year. I mean, obviously, where is it? This is from 2022, and I used these seeds last year in my garden, and now I have these from 2023. There is nowhere on earth I would have on this property to be able to plant all of these in my garden, unless my entire garden was cowpeas. It's just way too easy to save your own seeds, guys. And you get the added benefit of maybe some hybrid vigor if they cross-pollinated in your garden with another variety. And then maybe some adaptability from the plants that grew in your garden last year and survived and thrived, and you saved the best beans that you could see. You might have a better plant the next year. Saving seeds is amazing, totally worth it, and a great way to not spend money on seeds. A lot of these seeds are ones that I use consistently. I consistently grow jalapenos or green chili or red chili, and I don't want to spend money on packets every year of the same thing when I could just save my own seeds and never buy that packet again. Another way is your local seed bank. I know my library has one, which is very cool because those are going to be locally adapted seeds. Those seeds in those seed banks likely come from donators like you or I could be, and given to the local community to be redistributed. And the great thing is, if they're already grown in this area, or they have been for several years, they're already going to be adapted to your climate. And they're free. Likely. I don't know if everyone's library does a seed bank or anything, but I know mine does. I think that's really cool. That's a great way to get seeds. And you can also look to your friends or family. Now, I get it. If you don't have friends or family that garden, that's not an option for you, which is okay. Good for you for being the first one to start. But Facebook Marketplace, especially your local Facebook, Craigslist. Is Craigslist even a thing anymore? I feel like Facebook Marketplace took over the whole Craigslist sale thing. But get on Facebook, some of your local crews. Surely every or almost every town in the US has a local Facebook page or a local Facebook gardening page where you can connect with people, share seeds, share your seeds, trade seeds. There are plenty of ways to get free seeds, guys, if you can't afford them. There are cheaper options. Baker Creek is a really affordable seed company for the incredible quality seeds that they have. I love them. They're awesome. If you buy enough, you get a free seed packet. It's probably going to be Merlot lettuce. But there's so many ways, guys. If you're finding that buying this, and I spent quite a bit of money on these two. I think it was around maybe $50 just for these seed packets, both of them together. If you can't afford that, there are plenty of ways to get free seeds around you, or going to seed.org, saving your seeds, going to a local neighbor that grows a garden and asking them if they've saved any seeds from their garden. So many ways. It's totally accessible. You may have to put in a little bit more work, but you might be better off in the long run, especially if you're getting them locally. Well, that is it, guys. It was a rather short seed haul. I'm sorry. I'm doing my best not to spend a ton of money on the garden this year. I've thrown a lot into it these past 3 years, trying to get it grown quickly. Things either take time or money, and I wanted to offset my grocery bill as quickly as possible when I moved here, so I spent the money, and now I'm trying to slow it back down. I'm trying to be more self-sufficient, more sustainable, and less hungry for new seed packets every year. So my seed list this year compared to others is quite small, and I'm not sure everything that I'm growing yet. I have not gone through my seed collection to see what I want to grow this year. And I also have to go over last year's YouTube videos to see what did well for me and what didn't. I don't do like a garden journal or anything, so sometimes I'll have a tough time remembering what did well and what didn't, unless it was like really monumental part of the garden. But YouTube is great. That's partly why I do it, is I have this running diary of my garden every year. So I've got to go back and look at that and go through my seed package, see what I have. And then I'll have a video on which seeds I'm actually going to be growing specifically this year. Obviously, all of these are on the list because they're all brand new. But as for my tried and trues, I'll get back to you on a later date about that. Now, I apologize for these last two videos. They're not my usual style. I don't usually just sit and talk in my boring dining room, but that's what I've done. But some people like that, and I am glad you are here if you do, because I also like watching seed haul videos and looking at what everyone else is growing. But we will be back in the garden soon. I've been working hard behind the scenes, doing some pickup, some cleanup, building beds, getting the garden fence situation done. So I will have outside content for you soon. And we are coming up on seed starting time around the middle of February. And I'm so excited. But I will let you guys go. Thank you for hanging out with me, and I will catch you on the next one.